morning students and welcome back to your chemistry class. Today in the chapter of hydrogen we are going to discuss about its discovery. Henry Cavendish was the first scientist who had discovered hydrogen. Okay, who was the scientist? It was Henry Cavendish who had discovered hydrogen gas. Okay. Robert Boyle. Then what was the work of Robert Boyle? He prepared the gas with iron and dilute sulfuric acid, and he established its elementary nature and showed that water can be formed when this gas burns in the air. He called it as an inflammable air. This hydrogen gas, he called it as an inflammable air. Why? Because it had a combustible nature. So what did Robert Boyle do? He prepared hydrogen gas. Clear? Then there was a third scientist, Lavoisier. What was his work? He named this gas as hydrogen. He named this gas as hydrogen gas. And hydrogen means what? Water former. Now let us talk about occurrence of hydrogen gas. Hydrogen can occur both in the free state as well as in the combined state. Okay, in the free state it can be found in traces in the earth's crust, in the atmosphere, and even in the volcanic gases also. About 0.025% of hydrogen is present in the volcanic gases also. Then even in the atmosphere, as I told you, even in the stars, sun has around 1.1% of hydrogen. Now let's talk about in the combined state. In the combined state, this hydrogen is found in the plant and animal tissues. Now what do these tissues contain? These tissues, they are constituted of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen and nitrogen. So what are we studying? We are studying hydrogen. So hydrogen is present in the combined form where? In plants and animal tissues, right? Then this hydrogen, it is also present in acids, in bases, right? In your bases, I mean to say in your alkalis, then even your hydrocarbons, they contain hydrogen. Then even your proteins, the sugar, starch, petroleum products, your proteins, your carbohydrates, they all contain hydrogen. Like for example, for acids, if we talk about HCl, if we talk about H2SO4, what are we seeing here? Hydrogen is present. If we talk about bases, in bases I am talking mostly about the alkalis. So if you check over here, KOH, NaOH, so this contains hydrogen. So this is again present over here. Hydrocarbons like CH4 or C2H6, hydrogen is present over here as well. So we can say that hydrogen is found in the combined state. Even in water, you know, hydrogen is present to around 11.1% by weight. Clear? So this way we can say that hydrogen is present in the free state as well as in the combined state. Now today we are also going to study about the preparation of hydrogen with the help of metals. So preparation of hydrogen, right? First one, hydrogen prepared from water. So as you know that hydrogen is present where? It is present in water, it is present in acids, and it is present in the alkalis. So today we are going to talk only about water. Acids and alkalis we are going to do in the next video. Okay. So now we know that water can be found in many forms, like in the cold form or warm, hot, or in the form of a steam. So today we are going to observe that metals, how do they react with the different temperature of water. So for this, to begin with, first let us remember our activity series. So what is the activity series if you remember? We have potassium, sodium, calcium, magnesium, then aluminium, zinc, iron, lead, then we have hydrogen, then copper, mercury, silver, gold, and so on. So here I am going to explain you how these metals, they react with different temperature of water. So the first part, hydrogen from water, first part that we are going to study over here, that hydrogen obtained from cold water and metals. So hydrogen obtained from cold water plus metals. Okay, so let us take an example. X is a metal, right? When this combines with water, right, it will form a base over here plus hydrogen gas, and hydrogen is always shown with an upward arrow. So let us begin with potassium. So let us take potassium. It combines with cold water. Okay, what kind of a water are we using over here? We are using cold water, right? So if we take a trough filled with cold water, right, and to this we add, suppose we add red litmus to it. So after adding potassium to it, right, now potassium, we should know it has less density, so it is not going to go into the water, but it is going to float on the surface of the water. So this potassium, it melts and it forms a silvery globule, and that darts on the surface of the water. Clear? And as it melts into this water, what will happen to the red litmus solution? It will turn blue, right? Blue solution will be formed, and lot of heat will be given out. It will be an exothermic reaction. It will be an explosive reaction, vigorous, violent explosive reaction, and that is why this reaction is not done in the laboratory also. So when blue solution is formed, that means what are we talking about? Some base is formed over here. So what is that base that is formed? KOH, potassium hydroxide, and hydrogen gas is given out. Now let us balance this reaction. So if this is your 2, 2, 2 and 2. So this is your balanced equation. So what did I tell you? It is highly exothermic, okay, then vigorous, violent, explosive reaction takes place over here, right? Then it catches fire, and if we bring a splinter, if we bring a glowing splinter to the mouth of this vessel, what are we going to see? The glowing splinter extinguishes, right, with lilac flame and a pop sound. Now you must be wondering, just now miss you said that it should extinguish with a blue flame, and here I am saying lilac flame. Now this lilac flame is due to the potassium vapors, okay, the potassium that I had added. So due to potassium vapors, it gives us the lilac flame, and the splinter, it gets extinguished with a pop sound. I hope this is very clear to you. This reaction is very important. It is explosive, it is exothermic, vigorous and violent, right? Now let us come to the second one, that is about sodium. So if we take sodium, I am just rubbing this to show you over here only. Now if we take sodium over here, it combines with cold water again, and what is it going to form? It is going to form NaOH, again a base, and hydrogen gas is given out. Now what do we know about it? If we take a trough filled with cold water, to which we add sodium globule. Now sodium is also a highly exothermic reaction, vigorous, violent, but not explosive. Now it won't be an explosive reaction. Is that very clear? And this is also going to form a silvery globule and dart at the surface of the water, right? Then What else should we know about it? This is less vigorous. Now I wrote over here, no, highly exothermic vigorous, but it is lesser than potassium. It is lesser than potassium, right? Therefore I have removed this word explosive over here. This reaction is not at all explosive, but it is, yes, exothermic, vigorous, violent, right? Now glowing splinter, what happens to the glowing splinter? Here it is not going to give you a lilac flame, but here it is going to give you golden flame. Now this golden flame is due to the sodium vapors over here, and the splinter will extinguish with a pop sound. So I hope about sodium is also very clear. Now let's talk about calcium. So next one is your calcium. Now calcium has a more density than sodium, right? It is denser than sodium. So if we take it in a trough filled with cold water, what will happen? It will sink down. When it sinks down, so how can we collect it? It has to be collected by the inverted funnel. So we take an inverted funnel and we cover it with the test tube, right? So this hydrogen gas can be collected over here. So this calcium, it combines with water, and again it is going to form calcium hydroxide, and hydrogen gas will be given out. So this calcium, that is, it is less vigorous, and this is a moderate reaction. This is a moderate reaction. This is also an exothermic reaction because heat is given out in the form of hydrogen gas, right? It is not vigorous, it is not violent, right? But yes, it is highly exothermic, but a moderate reaction. And what happens when we bring a glowing splinter? This burns with a brick red flame. Brick red flame. So brick red flame tells us what? Due to the presence of calcium vapors over here. Is this point very clear to all of you? One more point. What happens to the liquid when this calcium is added to it? The liquid, it turns milky. Okay, it turns milky and turbid. And to this liquid, even when you add red litmus solution, it will turn blue, stating what? That a base or an alkali is formed. Now remember one thing, when we had formed KOH and we formed NaOH, these are the strong alkalis, okay? And this calcium hydroxide, it is a weak alkali. Always remember this. It is a weak alkali, and it shows over here it shows a moderate exothermic reaction. I hope till here everything is very clear. Now let us move to magnesium. Now let us see the action of hot water or steam on metals. Okay, so now we come to magnesium. Let's see how magnesium reacts with water. Now magnesium is not going to at all react with cold water. It is going to react with warm water. Okay, it will react with warm water to give you a weak alkali, that is your magnesium hydroxide. Okay, and hydrogen gas will be given out. Now this is also your moderate reaction, right? It is your exothermic reaction. Followed. What else should we know about this? Over here, when you bring a glowing splinter, it extinguishes by showing you dazzling white light. Okay, dazzling white light. And if you bring a red litmus paper to it, it will turn blue, showing that an alkali is formed over here. I hope this magnesium is also very clear. Now next we come to, in the books many places it has been given to you MgO. Now remember, MgO present in water will then convert to MgOH whole twice. So I have given you the last reaction over here. I mean to say that magnesium when combines with water first will form MgO, and then that MgO when kept long in water will form MgOH whole twice plus hydrogen gas. So I have given you this reaction over here. Clear? Now next we move to aluminium. Let's see what happens with aluminium. Will react with water. Now what kind of water? Now this aluminium is not going to react with warm water. It has to react with steam. Okay, and then we need a temperature of 800 degrees Celsius, and here now it is not going to form a hydroxide. In fact, it is going to form an oxide, aluminium oxide, and hydrogen gas will be given out. If you balance this equation, 2, so 2, 3 will be here, 3 2s are 6, 3 will be here. So this is your balanced equation. Now once this aluminium oxide is formed, further reaction is not possible. Why? Because of the coating of the oxide over the metal. So it does not allow the reaction to complete, and therefore no hydroxide reaction is formed over here. In fact, at high temperature, the coating might break and it might allow the steam to react with aluminium to a certain extent, forming AlOH whole thrice. But initially it is always going to form aluminium oxide only. Clear? Then this is also again your moderate reaction and exothermic reaction. Now you have to just understand that all these reactions now will be moderate and exothermic in nature. Next, let's come to zinc. Zinc when reacts with water. Now firstly we know that aluminium is reacting with steam, so zinc also has to react with steam. But not only steam, the zinc also has to be heated over here. Now look, what am I saying? As we are going down, what is happening? The reactivity of these metals with the water is decreasing. Clear? Here it was reacting with cold water. Now we needed warm water. Then here we needed steam. Now to the zinc we have reached. We are heating zinc. Then only it is reacting with the steam. And then it forms zinc oxide and hydrogen gas is given out. Now this zinc oxide, it is yellow when hot and it is white when cold, right? So this is something which is very important that you need to always remember. Then after that, this is also again I am telling you moderate and an exothermic reaction. Now we come to iron. Iron also reacts with water. So water is again your steam over here. But do you know about iron? It has to be heated till it is red hot. So we write over here red hot iron is required, and then this is not a irreversible reaction, it is a reversible reaction. Now look over here, here it was heating, here it is red hot, and then too it shows a reversible reaction forming Fe3O4. What is the name of this? This is triferric tetraoxide and hydrogen gas is given out. Remember that this is a reversible reaction, and if the hydrogen formed is not removed, then what will happen? The iron oxide formed, it gets reduced back to iron, and therefore this shows a reversible reaction. I hope all this is very clear. Now coming to lead. Lead is a very feeble metal because it is placed just above hydrogen. So it does not displace hydrogen from water, and it shows no reaction with water. No reaction with water. Clear? Now, what about copper? Copper is placed below hydrogen, or mercury is placed below hydrogen, or silver, gold, all are placed below hydrogen. So they cannot displace hydrogen from water, and hence they do not show any reaction with water at any temperature. They do not react with water at any temperature. Clear? And you must have also studied earlier that higher elements, they can replace the lower elements, but lower elements, they cannot replace the higher elements. And since lead, or maybe say copper, they do not react with water, and therefore all the pipelines or all the articles that are used for water purpose, they are always made up of copper, right? They are coated with plastic, but they are always made up of generally copper. So I hope this much is very clear. This I was talking about action of all the metals with water. Now since there is just one reaction with the non-metal, so let us do that also and wind up for the day. So let me rub this. Action of steam on non-metals. Okay, so over here carbon, when it reacts with water, okay, so this carbon, it should be red hot. This should be red hot coke. Okay, combines with what kind of water? It combines with steam. What temperature is required here? 1000. It shows an endothermic reaction forming a fuel gas. What is this fuel gas called as? Water gas. And it shows you an endothermic reaction. Why does it show an endothermic reaction? Because see over here, firstly we are heating the coke, then we are taking water in the form of a steam and also giving it 1000 degree temperature. Then only this reaction takes place. But to this, when we pass more of the steam, okay, then it is going to give us carbon dioxide and hydrogen gas. So carbon dioxide can be removed and hydrogen is obtained over here. So this shows us an exothermic reaction, right? It is a exothermic reaction. So this way hydrogen can be obtained from a non-metal also. So today we studied the preparation of hydrogen with water and the metals and a non-metal along with water. Now next video we are going to talk about the metals reacting with acids and the alkalis to form hydrogen gas. Thank you.